It is a sunny and humid day in the South Korean port city of Busan. The sounds of street noise and human activity can only be heard faintly in the distance, allowing occasional bird song to be easily audible. In the courtyard of a massive office building with the sign IHAILAB, several large, muscular men in black suits and sunglasses gather. Shortly thereafter, a young South Korean man with glasses and a briefcase handcuffed to his wrist steps out of the building, moves into the center of the group, and heads toward a large, high-gloss black Cadillac Escalade ESV Armored, whose door is held open by an equally muscular and stern-looking Korean man. This is Jin-Ho Kim, a talented IT specialist and programmer for the company. Suddenly, numerous drones fly into the scene, and a massive gray-white cloud of smoke rises in the courtyard, obscuring visibility so much that the men can barely see their own hands in front of their faces. Panic breaks out among the men, and those in black suits run toward Jin-Ho Kim to protect him and his briefcase. Almost simultaneously, several figures in gray suits with masked faces charge at the Koreans. Due to their attire, they are barely visible in the fog to the surprised Koreans. Only the flashing of several muzzle fires, accompanied by the hissing sound of a silenced pistol, can be seen. After a short time, the young Korean with the briefcase emerges from the fog. Three figures in gray hold him tightly, dragging the screaming man into the Cadillac, which appears to already be under their control. With loudly squealing tires, the vehicle finally speeds out of the courtyard in front of the building. Helt enters C's office, unshaven and with his collar slightly askew. He's had a long night, abruptly cut short by C's call and the order to report for duty in his office the next morning.
Good morning, C. What's so urgent that you had to call me in on my weekend off?
We need you in South Korea. An advanced kernel for military-grade AI technology, along with its creator, has been abducted there. According to one of our agents on the ground, it's suspected that Letitia Volkov, an influential oligarch from Kazakhstan, is behind the criminal act. However, we're unclear on what the Black Rose, as her compatriots call her, intends to do with it. She has no military background and is simply known as a ruthless, greedy, and very attractive woman. Quite your type, if I may speak openly. And while we're being open, if you keep going the way you have since the divorce, you'll end up just as dead as your recently fallen British colleague from MI6.
Let that be my concern. I think I'd like to get to know the Black Rose a bit better. She sounds interesting from what you've said.
Good. Everything you need to know is in here. Included is a plane ticket to South Korea. You're heading to Busan. You fly in 4 hours.
In 4 hours? You can't be serious.
Helt takes the bright red file and walks toward the office door. Then he turns around one more time.
He is not dead.
He turns toward the door and walks out of the room. Nearly 3 hours later, Helt is sitting in the waiting area of Berlin-Brandenburg Airport. He still feels exhausted from the previous night, his head resting in his hands. The noise from the countless people around him is nearly driving him mad. A young Asian woman rolls her suitcase over Helt's foot.
Excuse me, sir.
Almost unfazed by the situation, he takes his phone from his gray jacket and calls his superior, C.G. Werner.
Hello, C. My flight leaves in an hour. Who is my contact on site, and what are the further instructions?
Min Jae Kim is your contact. He knows what you look like, will find you at the airport and introduce himself to you.
C, are you still there?
Certainly, Mr. Held. Where were we? Did you understand everything?
Yes, contact in Busan Min Jae Kim. He'll recognize me there. Everything's clear.
Good, my friend. Then everything is in order.
Helt takes his phone from his ear, slightly puzzled by his superior's choice of words, a man he's known for over 20 years. Without hesitation, he dials C's number again.
Held. What is it now?
Excuse me, is everything all right?
Of course. What could be wrong? Are you all right, Held?
No, everything is fine. I just wanted to make sure.
A few minutes later, Held is seated on the plane and falls asleep from exhaustion. Held enters the vast building of Gimhae International Airport. It's already well past midnight in Busan. There's a certain calmness, combined with the typical airport atmosphere, predominantly Asian travelers, the familiar sounds of announcements, and soft chatter filling the air. The arrival hall is bright and welcoming, with large windows letting in plenty of daylight, and the architecture is very modern. Since the hall isn't overly crowded, Held immediately notices a roughly 45-year-old Korean man with a beard and a somewhat inscrutable expression who's looking at him. The man's face doesn't show any particularly friendly gesture. He merely gives a short wave in Held's direction to indicate that he's the local contact. Held shakes the man's hand with a slightly wary look, and the two quickly engage in some superficial small talk.
So you're Adrian Held, the one they call at the BND for the really special assignments.
That about sums it up. What is there to know about you?
Kim smiles somewhat smugly and replies cheekily,
Maybe I'll tell you over a glass of soju at a trendy little bar downtown. I have my car parked right in front of the building.
If a gin and tonic will do, then count me in.
Held, don't tell me you traveled all the way to South Korea without wanting to get a taste of our culture and customs.
Let's just drive and get to the point. By the way, I know South Korea and Busan very well. This isn't my first visit here.
The two men leave Busan Airport and get into Kim's car. It's a sleek, silver metallic Lexus LS 500, standing out sharply from the other vehicles around it. They talk as Kim drives noticeably fast through the wide streets toward the city.
I was surprised by the call with Werner today. He seemed a bit odd, quite unlike himself. Maybe it's the mission that's weighing on him.
That must be it. Don't worry too much about it. Let's focus on the mission.
Held glances at Kim from the corner of his eye, studying him carefully.
How long have you been in Busan, Kim? The city seems to have changed a lot in recent years.
Oh, almost 5 years now. I've seen it all here, the bars, the harbor. Busan is my second home.
Interesting. Then you must know the old district near Nampodong, with those tiny soju bars, where you can't take 10 steps without being invited somewhere.
Of course. I go there often. Especially the bar, what was it called again? The one by the harbor.
By the harbor? Those bars haven't been around for 2 years. They were all torn down.
Kim is visibly unsettled, but he quickly regains his composure.
Right. I meant, of course, yes, that was a while ago.
Held and Kim enter a hidden bar in Busan, a hidden gem tucked away in a narrow alley near the harbor. From the outside, it appears modest, with a simple neon sign in Korean characters casting a faint glow. Inside, they're welcomed by dim lighting and a warm atmosphere. The walls are paneled in dark wood, adorned with artworks by local artists. High-proof spirits and exotic cocktails line the bar, prepared by an experienced-looking bartender. Sturdy, dark wood tables are filled with patrons, creating a lively ambiance for the late hour. In one corner, a live duo plays soft jazz, blending with the laughter and conversations that fill the space. Large windows line the walls, offering glimpses of the bustling street outside, partially concealed by curtains for privacy. As Held and Kim settle at a table in a secluded area toward the back, a relaxed yet subtly tense atmosphere surrounds them.
What does the BND already know about Letitia Volkov, the one being held responsible for the abduction of the IT specialist?
You don't know? I thought we were all equally briefed.
Well, that's true. But it doesn't hurt to be cautious and go over the available information once more.
Held looks at Kim, his gaze reflecting a blend of guarded suspicion and cool restraint.
I'll be right back. After the long journey, my face needs a bit of water, and I have something else I need to take care of.
Kim smiles with a hint of mystery.
See you in a bit, my dear.
Held enters the restroom of the bar, which in stark contrast to the bar itself, appears dark and dirty. A gloomy, almost eerie atmosphere fills the space. The walls are shabby, painted in dark, faded colors, with peeling paint and graffiti, some of it barely readable. A cold, green-blue neon light flickers from the ceiling, making the already filthy scene look even more ominous. The floor tiles are cracked in places, and the mirror above the sink is old and partially fogged, covered with scratches and stains. The entire room feels cramped and oppressive, the air stale, tinged with a mix of old smoke, alcohol, and cleaning agents that barely cover the dirt. The neon lighting casts harsh shadows, and every movement seems unnaturally distorted in the greenish light. A man in a black suit, who looks Korean, stands by the sink. He gives Held a quick glance and then reaches into his pocket. Held remains vigilant, which immediately proves wise. Behind him, two Korean attackers suddenly appear with long knives, launching an immediate assault. The man by the sink and two others, who burst out of the restroom stalls, charge at Held with a type of battle cry. Intuitively prepared for a threat and well-trained, Held reacts quickly. With a precise strike to the wrist, he disarms one of the attackers and disables the other with a kick to the back of the knee. Terror is reflected on Held's face as he experiences the ordeal, beads of sweat forming on his forehead. Yet, he executes his combat techniques with professional precision, almost mechanically. He hurls the disarmed attacker with great force toward the three men in the back of the restroom, seizing the confined moment for escape, and finally reaches the exit of the grim restroom. As he leaves the bar, he doesn't spare a glance at Kim, who stares at him with a shocked expression, exuding an air of elegance and composure. Kim remains seated at his table, fully aware that he would stand little chance against Held physically. And so, Held exits the bar,